The Second Vatican Council's dogmatic constitutional Lumen Gentium states that all members of the Church, whether they belong to the hierarchy or shepherded by it, are called to holiness. N. 39. Now, if this is our vocation, how devotions, especially devotion to the Blessed Virgin, can help us to live it fully and to reach, in fact, that perfection of charity that is the summit and how the crowning of the whole Christian life? This is what we will look at in this class. In the first place, it is never enough to remember that when we speak of Marian devotion, and particularly of the method of consecration proposed by Saint Louis Marie Grignon de Montfort, we are not referring to a magical practice. Neither the use of the scapular or the miraculous medal nor the recitation of a few formulas, even over a lifetime, alone have the power to bias the sky. Without the inner and substantial devotion, which we talked about in the previous class, and a sincere and constant effort to change our lives, conforming to the demands of baptism, any and all external devotional practice is reduced to a body without a soul, to a matter without form. There is, however, another extreme that we must also avoid, and that is the idea, propagated by certain superb spirits, that no one can be a true devotee of the Virgin Mary if he has not already reached a very high degree of sanctity. There is no shortage of people in our day who, simply because they have consecrated themselves to Our Lady, proudly believe they are better than others, as if the preparatory practices for consecration and the rite of surrender to the Blessed Virgin would, by themselves, guarantee the purity of our spirit. It is more than evident that this idea, in addition to displeasing the heart of our Blessed Mother, constitutes a great obstacle to the sanctifying action of the Holy Spirit in our souls, since God, as the Scriptures say, resists the proud. James 4:6. How, then, can devotions help us on our path to holiness? Before answering that question, it should be borne in mind that holiness consists, first of all, in the union of the soul with God through love, that is, charity. Only when we can repeat with complete accuracy and truth, "I no longer live. It is Christ who lives in me," Gal 2:20, we can be sure that we have reached the summit of Christian perfection. 1. The end of our life on this earth, therefore, lies in uniting ourselves to Christ, our God and Lord, to the point of being with Him what the wife is with a husband. One body, one heart, one reality. And the role of private devotions, and this is especially true for beginners, is precisely to attract our hearts more and more to those who, as seen in the introductory class, are the object on which they must end, in the words of the theologians, or fall. All devotional practice. Devotion, at least from this point of view, resembles one of those human and loving bonds with which the prophet Hosea says that the Lord attracts and assures us, cf. Os 11:4. It is, to use another image, as a small incentive, a sweet invitation that God, serving as the Almighty King of His servants and ministers, makes souls with whom He desires to have intimacy. That is why, of all devotions, the one we have for the Virgin Mary is not only the most excellent, but the one that best fulfills its purpose. In fact, who would be afraid to surrender, with absolute confidence, into the arms of a most loving mother, entrusting her head and heart at the same time, certain that, in her hands, the most hardened of sinners can go, little by little, conforming to God's most just will? Now, if it is true, on the one hand, that devotion to Our Lady can be practiced with truth and sincerity even by the least progressed in the Christian life, it is still less certain than the act of total consecration, by virtue of everything that it means and implies. It should not be done lightly and lightly, as if there was no need to live up to such surrender. This is an act very excellent and heroic, of profound transcendence and repercussion throughout our spiritual life too, and this is precisely the reason why it should not be done without mature reflection, the opinion of a good spiritual director and, above all, the firm purpose of turning away from any serious moral fault. Let us hear, by way of conclusion, what St. Louis Maria himself tells us in this regard.
I confess that, in order to be truly devoted to the Blessed Virgin, it is not absolutely necessary to be holy to the point of avoiding all sin, although this is the ideal, but it is necessary at least, note what I will say. First of all, be with the sincere resolution to avoid at least every mortal sin, which offends both the mother and the son. B. Second, do violence to yourself to avoid sin. C. Third, join the brotherhood, pray the Rosary, the Holy Rosary or other prayers, fast on Saturdays, etc. 3.